We've got Robin Nolan with us, the great Robin Nolan, who's going to be telling us all about his. Thank you, Robin. I should have put some music to that. Something appropriate, yeah. We're really excited to know about this, your latest project, For the Love of George. And so, I mean, not everyone knows this connection that you had, a really good friendship with the late great George Harrison. And yeah, tell us more. Tell us more.
Yeah, well, that's right. So I've just released a work which has been years in the making, almost like it feels like a life work. The album called For the Love of George, and it's an album of George Harrison's music, um, but more than just his music, with my interpretations of his music. It's actually recorded on three of his famous Beatles guitars. It was recorded at his house, Friar Park, and it was released by his label, Dark Horse Records. So there's a there's a strong Harrison thing going on here, and that's why it's special, really. So it's for me, it was beyond just playing his music. It was putting my fingers where he put his fingers on songs that he wrote, which he never thought that years later I would be playing. I mean, it's just full circle because I went there as a kid when I was in my early 20s. I was busking in Amsterdam with Tony Williams, who's on this call. We were busking, and that's the town where I live in Amsterdam. And we were playing under a tree, and then this guy bought a CD, like many people did, and it turned out to be one of George Harrison's gardeners, and he went back to Henley on Thames to Friar Park, which is George's kind of
Mm.
castle-y kind of place. Gave it to George and Olivia, George's wife, and they must have liked it because, a few days later, I was sitting in my little flat here in Amsterdam, like 10 of us, and the phone rang, and I just had a surreal conversation with a Beatle, and of course I didn't believe it was George at first, and then as the conversation went on, he wasn't really laughing, and I was like, in the end, it was him, and he just said he loved the music that we were playing, and he wondered if we wanted to come and play at a little party he was having at Friar Park. So I was kind of freaking out inside my head, and I said something stupid like I was trying to be clever and funny, and I said, "I'll just check my agenda, George," and of course, the agenda was completely empty, So we had a great night, and then George, he invited us back and back and back. So that wasn't the only time. We went back many times in George's lifetime in Friar Park for all sorts of parties and birthdays and celebrations. And so I got to know George as well as Olivia and Danny, his son. And it was kind of surreal, but he was very down to earth. And also, he's from Liverpool, where my dad's from. So it felt like a father figure, like it felt like a mentor. He was
Mm.
always a mentor to me, and the way he spoke, it was not serious. It was always a little bit tongue in cheek. And the thing that was interesting about George was that even though we see him as this kind of very, uh, of course, very loving and spiritual character, he was also a Scouser. So he was a human being as well. A man. And so we got to sort of see that side of him, which was great. He loved. He asked me about I remember this chord, which is just that chord for Man Moi de Marev.
Yeah.
I remember him asking me about that. I said, because you got A7 and then
Yeah.
you've got A13, you think, but then the
Tension.
Django thing, you got that. So stuff like that he was really curious about.
Yeah.
So we started a friendship and we played over the years. We were like the house band, and but we were always playing the kind of material that we played. This kind of gypsy jazz stuff. Um, Anyway, years later, this just to get back to this project. George passed away, and we carried on playing there. We played for his wake, um, and many events. And then 3 years ago, I was playing for a party for Olivia, his widow, and it was a really small little dinner party. And then after dinner, it was just everyone was in a really great mood in this incredible house, you know. And then I just said to Olivia, Olivia, wouldn't it be great if we could have a little play on George's guitars, you know? And she just said immediately, which one? So I just said the Ramirez, just the first thing that came to my mind. So she just dashed upstairs and then came back with the Ramirez, and then just suddenly I was sat there with the guitar in my hand, and then I just played um, because that's the guitar he recorded that
Yeah, I
song
was
on.
going to
So
ask you what did he play on the Ramirez?
yeah, so we played Till There Was You and I Love Her, and also this unknown song which I recorded on the album called
Oh
Dark
yeah,
Sweet Lady.
yeah,
But so then I kind of got this cathartic experience, you know, in his house, playing his guitar, playing his, you know, and I Love Her, and then the dinner party was sat around watching us, and it was just a beautiful feeling, you know, playing this guitar and stuff. So after later, I just said to Olivia, wouldn't it be amazing to record the album on his guitars? And she agreed, and then you know that was the kind of the birth of this album. So I had these arrangements which I put together, um, and there's a lot of logistics. So eventually I went over there to record. In the meantime, which I'll introduce this first song like this because all the songs are known Harrison songs, also Lennon McCartney, which is And I Love Her, but his lick on that is so considerable.
mhm,
Um, in the meantime, Olivia texted me this picture of an envelope with George's handwriting on, and he had a load of chords like we would write out, you know, B minor, F sharp with an F crossed out, and it was a sketch,
mm.
and it was on the back of an envelope. And she said, "Have a look at that. Have a look at the chords. You know, I'm not sure if George ever did anything with that. Have a look." So that was I started staring at the chords and his handwriting and trying to work it out because it wasn't just like a, you know, a set chart. It was like, did he mean that or did he mean that? So I started piecing together the chords, and that became the title track of the album, For the Love of George, and which I'll play for you now. But the amazing thing about that is that the credit is Harrison Nolan. So you know, it's kind of like for me, it's kind of an incredible feeling to think
Yeah,
that that guy that he knew me as a kid, you know, just
mhm.
around that, and I never talked about the Beatles with him or anything, you know.
It's a
But
wonderful
then
story.
to think that years later I was back with a co-writing a song,
Mm.
a tune. So
And also,
we recorded it.
also, it's like George is still with us, isn't it? You know?
Very much so, very much
Yeah,
so, and whatever you believe and things, it's undeniable that as a guitarist playing his guitars and his music, I got a little bit closer to him again. I felt
hmm,
so it was more than you know. I think all the best things come from when you're not thinking about just you know, basic thing. I was only thinking about I hope he would approve, you know. So that was what was driving me, not to try and
yeah.
you know
Did you?
sell it or whatever, you know.
It really is. I think it's an absolutely amazing story. It's an amazing thing that happened. I think you can be very proud of what you've done here, and I'm
Mm.
sure that George, wherever his spirit is floating around, I don't think he's very far from us. I'm sure he absolutely approves, and will be smiling on us, smiling on you.
So there's a
Mm.
taste of that
Wow,
that
you
track.
got a real kind of the Beatles vibe sound there going.